Hello, everybody, and welcome along to the Event Industry News Podcast with me, James Dixon. Wishing you all a very good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever or wherever you join today's podcast from. I am back in the home studio in England, but joined today by a guest who is once again taking us transatlantic on the podcast. I'm delighted to say that we're going to be talking all things entertainment, rock and roll, corporate entertainment. There's all sorts of things that I'm sure we're going to try and touch on in today's podcast with our guest. Our guest is Emma Teats, and Emma is the Director of Sales and Events at the world famous Brooklyn Bowl and at their home and their original destination in Brooklyn in New York. Emma, thanks for joining the podcast today. It's great to see you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to join you today. I'm grateful for the opportunity and looking forward to our conversation today.
Well, we are very, very grateful for the opportunity because as soon as it landed in my inbox, the invitation to say, oh, this is the guest and this is what she does, I thought, wow, this is great. You know, we could probably talk for hours on this. We've got about 30 minutes and we're going to try and fly through as much as possible. But as I said in the introduction, Emma, you are the Director of Sales and Events at Brooklyn Bowl in Brooklyn, New York. Tell us a little bit, first of all, but try and sort of paint a picture of exactly what Brooklyn Bowl is, what it looks like, what it sounds like.
Absolutely. So, Brooklyn Bowl, we specialize in a one-of-a-kind experience. We combine live music, award-winning food by Blue Ribbon, my location has two full bars and 16 bowling lanes, and of course, world-class hospitality. So we are really just a unique venue in and of itself. And we have four locations around the country now. We have Brooklyn, our original location. We have Las Vegas, we have Nashville, and we have Philadelphia, our newest location. So it's just very exciting times for the company. We are growing and able to share our unique one-of-a-kind experience in more cities.
And just those four destinations that you've just reeled off there for a venue and a business that combines bowling, food, drink, and music. Those four destinations are absolutely ticking all the boxes straight away, aren't they? Particularly for the
Absolutely.
music one, you know, Nashville, Vegas,
Right.
Philadelphia, you know,
Yeah.
legendary musical status. So they're obviously really key geographical locations from that point of view. When it comes to the original location in Brooklyn, though, just as iconic, you know, some of the imagery that conjures up. How long has the venue been in operation?
Our location opened in 2009, so we are celebrating our 13th anniversary this year. Very exciting. The building itself was built in the late 1800s, almost 140 years ago,
Wow.
as an iron foundry. So just a lot of history in our building, to say the least. I mean, we have done some pretty spectacular things in the 13 years we've been open. We've had legends grace our stage, such as like Robert Plant, Stevie Nicks, Snoop Dogg,
Wow.
and we've hosted private events for companies across the board: Viacom, Spotify, Endeavor, finance companies, tech companies, nonprofits. And we do a ton of social events too: weddings, bat mitzvahs, bar mitzvahs. So we really do it all.
Now, this, it, I don't really know where to start today, so I'm just sort of gonna crash in there about the importance of your type of venue in today's event market, because of the need, I guess, for people, particularly after the last 18 months, 2 years of lockdowns and restrictions and all sorts of things like that. There's a massive desire for people to really get back into social environments, into meeting environments, and to maybe combine business with some fun, with some social activities. So I guess really at the moment, this is a really, really key and exciting time for you guys as a venue to be talking, presumably, to a host of different organizations who want to come and use the venue for their events.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just due to the unique nature of our venue, we can host a daytime conference for 300 people and easily flip the room to an after party with, live band, bowling, buffet, past apps, full bar. And at the end of the day, people are itching to get back out and to interact with people. I mean, in this, I keep wanting to say post-COVID world, but we are very much still in a
Yeah.
COVID world.
Yep.
So it's just kind of a crazy whirlwind trying to figure out how to best do that, given the uh, environment right now.
Absolutely. And of course, just on that subject, the breadth of client that you could potentially deal with for your venue very much alludes to one of the points I wanted to make today, which is about the events industry not being black and white. We often and historically we pigeonholed the events industry into certain nice little boxes, and it's not the case nowadays. Particularly, I guess, for a venue like yours, it's not a black and white thing. There are grey areas. Everybody wants something a little bit different, and it doesn't matter how corporate you think the client is. They may want something completely off the wall, and vice versa. You may have people coming from a sector who are really, really relaxed, and who maybe want something a little bit more formal for the business event. What are your thoughts on that kind of, I suppose, premise that we really don't live in a black and white world anymore? It really is grey when it comes to the events industry.
Yeah, I mean, as I was preparing for this, I realized I've been working in the live events industry for about 10 years now, which is just absolutely surreal to me. And I've learned so much over the past decade. But, honestly, the most important concept is the fact that, our industry is not black and white, it's gray. One of my first mentors taught me that, and I carry it with me to this day. No two events are ever going to be the same. No two clients will ever be the same. Nothing in this industry is done with a set and forget attitude.
Mm,
Um, Events are ever changing, and having the ability to kind of rein in on that idea early on in my career was really invaluable and helped me set the stage for not only my own work ethic, but how I work with my clients. And
mm.
especially right now, we have to be flexible. I mean, given the reality
Well,
of COVID, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we're facing our third wave now of cancellations due to COVID in the events industry, especially in New York. um, so it's kind of just taking it day by day, making
Mhm.
sure my clients know that I'm here for them. We're going to do this together. We're going to get through this together.
But I
And
guess I
just,
guess flexibility though is something that's inherent in the events industry, and event professionals and
yes.
people like yourself who've had a career in that industry. If you remove COVID from the equation, which I know is a difficult thing to do,
Yeah.
flexibility and adaptability and being responsive to clients' needs and requests, whether they be well in advance or last minute, is something
Mhm.
that's built into your very nature as an event planner and event organizer. So, whilst it's been difficult, what are your thoughts on the fact that perhaps event professionals more than anybody have been geared up for this need to be flexible over the last 2 years?
Yeah, it's inherently just entwined in what we do. I've had clients, like, it's the morning of the event and they're like, "Oh, we need to change XYZ, like, right now." I'm like, "Okay, cool, like, let's figure it out." There's always a
Mm,
way to figure it out. It's just, staying calm, making sure that, you have to be prepared with plans A through Z.
mm.
'Cause you'll get everything thrown at you at the last minute.
Sure.
And it's just a matter of, holding it together and seeing it through.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me referencing the fact, and you've probably been very, very modest by not mentioning it so far, but am I right in saying you were at the Manhattan Center previously? So you worked with venues including the Hammerstein Ballroom, the Grand Ballroom. These are even for somebody who's never been to New York, I've heard of these venues, and I'm sure a lot of
Yeah.
people listening to our podcast today will have heard of these venues. So your background is clearly in dealing with uh, events of a very significant level, and no doubt clients of a very significant level, and working presumably with very demanding clients sometimes.
Yes. So my Experience at Manhattan Center, it was my first job in a sales role. It's funny because, through college, I always said, I do not want to do sales. I do not want to do sales. My first job in the live events industry, I was actually working at a photo booth company, a lot of social events. Then I transitioned to CBS Radio, did a lot of event operations there, and then at Hammerstein, it was totally different. Still was able to, you know, take my love for the event industry, and put it to use in a different way, in sales. There it was different. We had a sales team, and then we had a separate operations team. So the types of events we were booking there, I mean, huge stage build outs, multi-day load-ins, televised events, huge fundraising galas. Um, I personally worked a lot with New York Comic Con. We did a lot of panels at Hammerstein for them. We did some after parties. I worked on the Nintendo World Championships one year with them. Like I said, huge build outs, multi-day load-ins, really just the venues there, they're totally different than what I work with now. The Hammerstein Ballroom is a raw space. I mean, it's huge, and the possibilities are limitless. You can,
Mm.
if you have the budget, you can build out the entire stage to take over the whole floor. I mean, you can really do anything. It's just um I definitely have experience in many different types of venues and
It's
events.
and what this does clearly, and I hope you don't mind me saying it, but that we've spoken a lot in the industry over here in the UK in recent years about the importance of women really taking a lead in the industry, leadership roles, but also being in senior positions. And that's the same in any business, and in a lot of industries. There's been a lot of talk about women taking and being given more senior roles, so that there's a little bit more equality across all of the industries. But in the events industry, there are so many women doing so many great things. How does it feel to sort of be able to look back even on that sort of 15 years and still relatively early in your career, and to be able to sort of look at some of the stuff you've achieved so far, and to be in the position that you're in now with a great venue at your disposal to really utilize that client network?
I mean, I'm definitely thankful for the opportunities, and the jobs that I have worked through to get where I am today. I've had some, incredibly strong female mentors in my career, that have helped build and shape the professional that I am today.
Mhm.
Um, and I mean, the importance of giving women a seat at the table, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Mm.
Science says that our brains are inherently wired differently. So, first of all, it just makes sense to,
Yep.
bring a different perspective to the table, and that's invaluable in itself. But, allegedly, we're also better listeners, better communicators, more empathetic, more focused, more flexible to change, more patient. I mean, the list goes on,
Yeah.
allegedly.
Well, no, no,
So
a lot of people will testify to this, particularly somebody like me who's been married 16 years. I can, I can tell you that all of those things in my own humble experience are absolutely correct.
absolutely. Yeah, see, so, and, we just started the year 2022. I mean, it's we're getting there, we're making more progress, especially in the events industry. There are a lot of
Mm,
female professionals, and I think that it just ties back into, the nature of our industry not being black and white, it's gray, and you do need all of these, pieces that fall together, and it kind of all, like, intertwines,
mhm.
in the ability to, do our jobs.
Absolutely. One thing I wanted to ask today from a business development point of view, when you have, as I said, this amazing venue, not at your disposal as such, but that you are tasked with, selling. Is it very much an incoming process? Is it just a constant flow of incoming inquiries, or is there a very proactive approach that you and presumably a sales team will take towards speaking to clients and really identifying new opportunities for events and business within the venue? What is the balance, I suppose, between inquiries that come to you and you guys being proactive into the marketplace?
Um, Both are just as important. I really feel like it's a 50-50. I mean, during our busiest season at Brooklyn Bowl, I mean, my team is fielding 200 inquiries on a weekly basis, event inquiries. But it's also just as important for us to get out there and be
Hmm.
proactive and prospect. I mean, I've done the whole cold calling thing. It doesn't work. You want to make it targeted, make it make sense.
Yeah.
So there's kind of different ways that you know, I was brought onto the Brooklyn Bowl team to kind of expand business development here and, increase Brooklyn Bowl's presence in the special events world.
Hmm.
Um, People who know Brooklyn Bowl know us as a music venue. People who don't know Brooklyn Bowl think automatically assume we're a bowling alley. Um, yeah, we have 16 bowling lanes. Yeah, we have different touring musicians play on our stage every night, but we're so much more than that. So in terms of, our goal is to make people aware that we are a multi-dimensional special events venue that can host your next black tie affair or your tech conference. And in order for us to be proactive about that, I am very involved in all the industry network, all the industry associations and their local
Mm.
chapters, attending networking events, participating in these events, showcasing Brooklyn Bowl. In 2019, we hosted some networking events at the Bowl. It's a great
Mm.
way to bring our venue to the forefront and get exposure to the right people.
Sure.
Um, we're partnering with neighboring hotels and venues, local vendors, nationally and internationally operating DMCs to build that network, build that pipeline, just make people aware of what our capabilities are here.
Mm.
Um, we've I've revamped our catering packages. We're developing exclusive and preferred vendor partner lists. The opportunities for prospecting um, are there. So
Yeah.
it's just us taking advantage of it.
And I guess that must be a fine balance to strike when it comes to networking with other businesses locally, because in a city such as yours, it's dog eat dog when it comes to sort of venues, and there are so many and so many events, and obviously, you're all fighting for business, but similarly, and I suppose the flip side to that is that you need to have those relationships, don't you, with other venues? Need to see what other venues are doing. You need to understand what their pain points may be and share that understanding and knowledge, so that there is a collective approach to an improvement, I guess, in the service delivery.
Yeah, so I in Williamsburg, so I'm not sure if you've ever been to Brooklyn at all, but
I
Williamsburg
have
is
not.
a
I
neighborhood.
regrettably no. Regrettably
One
no. I'm
day.
sorry. One day.
When you do, you'll have to come to the bowl here, and we'll take great care of
Rest
you.
rest rest assured, I'm there.
Yes,
Rest
yes.
assured.
So in our neighborhood, when the bowl first opened in 2009, I mean, there was one other thing, and it was the Brooklyn Brewery around the corner. It
Big
was
fan of
not.
theirs. Big fan of
Yes,
their lager. Yeah.
we definitely serve. I think we're one of their top um, clients in terms of how much beer we sell, which is
Which is
fantastic.
handy if they're
Uh,
next door as well.
exactly, exactly. Um, and we've I have not been with the bowl since 2009, but the building has seen the entire neighborhood just grow into what it is
Mm.
today.
Yeah.
It's really an extension of Manhattan at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, at this point, if you don't mind me interrupting, I did look on Google Street View before today's. I went on
yes.
Google and then I did the Street View because it's just one of those things that I like doing. Just sort of having a look, see what the building, and straight away you can see that it's one of those old buildings from old Brooklyn
Hmm.
buildings, the industrial buildings from, like you said, the late 1800s. But I
Yep.
urge anybody who's listening today to do the same thing. Just take 5 minutes, Google Brooklyn Bowl in Brooklyn, go on Google Street View and have a look, because you'll see what Emma's referring to. There's clearly been development, because there's new buildings and there are old buildings right next door and sometimes on top of each other. So it looks like a great neighborhood. And sorry to cut into you there,
Yes.
but I just wanted to
No.
sort of let everybody know and urge everybody to go and do what I did.
Yes. Yeah, so the neighborhood now is nothing like it was 13 years ago. And we kind of have our own, our neighborhood. We're friends with all the hotels in the area, the other venues. That we had a new venue open up across the street. Um, you know, it's important, in my opinion, to develop these relationships because, yeah, okay, you know, obviously there's competition across the street now, but what happens if I get an inquiry that we have a show book that can't move, or I
Mm.
I want to keep it in the family, so to speak. I want to keep them in the neighborhood, and vice versa. I think it's important to build a network of not only vendors that could be useful to you, but your competition. Know your competition.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
friends with your competition, because when they have a date that's not available, they could potentially pass the business over to me. And instead of just letting the client wander in Google searching New York venues, like, oh no, I have one that I can recommend you to right here.
Mm.
So I do find that is extremely important in terms of just
Yeah.
building the network.
And that's selling, like you said, the neighborhood as well. When people find an area that they like, and that's in any city, anybody who's run events that finds an area that works for them, because
Right.
that they've good hotels, or it's just got a really relaxed feel about it, or it's got good restaurants and other amenities nearby. Once you find an area that you like to run an event in, as you quite rightly say, if the venue that you want is not necessarily available, but you can retain your events geographical location within that area, that's going to help things. You don't want to lose them to another part of the city and risk that they may
Exactly.
never come back to your area as well.
Exactly, and to play off that, 10 years ago, Williamsburg was not what it is today. We've all worked very hard to build the neighborhood and to get business out here. I mean, 10 years ago, let's say there's a corporate client who hosts their events in Manhattan, they would scoff at you to be like, "Oh, come to Brooklyn." Like,
Hmm.
but now that's not the case. So, we just definitely want to actively, keep that up and, show that Williamsburg is super easy to get to. It's convenient. You can take a ferry, you can take two different trains within walking distance. So it's, just because it's in Brooklyn doesn't mean it's a hassle to get to. And the neighborhood is really incredible too.
Mm. As somebody who is a massive live music fan and a very keen musician myself, outside of this particular line of work, I must ask you about the music side of things, and given your background as well with CBS, again, such an iconic name in broadcasting, over in the USA. Um, have the connections that were made through your work at CBS, even though it might be quite some time ago, helped when you've come into the environment at Brooklyn Bowl, where music plays such an important role, and how important is that role of live music within the operation?
Yeah, so just to give a little insight on what my role was at CBS Radio, I mean, I joined the promotions team. I did street team patrols, I did event operations, I did office admin stuff. I mean, one day I could be driving our branded trucks out to um, New Jersey to table at a street fair with our whole booth set up. The next day I could be out on Long Island working a 16-hour day at an outdoor amphitheater on the operations team, preparing for 5,000 people to come and watch Casey and the Sunshine Band. So I had a ton of hands-on experience in so many different areas of, you know, what's important. They have different
Yeah.
sponsors, they have different artists that they're showcasing, things like that. So I kind of had my hands on a lot of different things there, and that was before I got into sales. So that was, I was loving the event industry, loving my job, and then eventually got the job at Manhattan Center on the sales team. But in terms of CBS, I mean, it was incredible getting to, work at all of these different live music events kind of behind
Wow.
the scenes. I'd be, there early setting up the green room. Once we had our radio station, Fresh 102.7, was doing their annual fall concert. And I was like standing side stage next to Fall Out Boy before they went on stage to perform. I mean, it's just, like, surreal, and incredible, and I've just, like, experienced so many things like that, and, for what we do at the Bowl, I mean, we are first and foremost a music venue. I
Yeah.
don't have any involvement in booking the talent here. We have a separate department. We have our talent
Sure.
buying
Yeah.
department who does that, and, pre-COVID, we were open 7 days a week hosting musicians, which is, the bread and butter of what our brand is. Um, but yeah.
I mean, it strikes me straight away as you're in that very, very unique position. A lot of people who do sales in venues maybe don't have that operational experience and maybe the hands-on experience of the events industry. A lot of people have worked their way straight, into sales, and maybe in different sectors of the events industry. It could be exhibition sales for trade shows and things like that, or
Right.
consumer shows. But a lot of people who work in sales do tend to rise through the ranks and stay in sales. So it's interesting to hear that you've also got that operational aspect, which I'm guessing, and I hope that you're going to say yes, gives you maybe a slightly better understanding of the requirements operationally that event organizer needs to have, which maybe gives you a bit of a cutting edge when it comes to a sales side of things.
100%. And actually my role at Brooklyn Bowl now is absolutely a hybrid of the two. I am doing the sales, but I'm also executing the event operations.
Mhm.
And what's unique about Brooklyn Bowl is we have not only the beverage, we don't only have the bar, but we also have all the catering in-house. So that's something that was kind of new to me when I joined the team. At Manhattan Center, we had a list of exclusive caterers that
Right.
could operate in the space. We didn't have our own kitchen, our own food in-house. So we would kind of introduce the client, then they would take it from there, planning the menu, things like that. Um, but, at Brooklyn Bowl, I have my hands on everything. So I am actively helping plan the menus, organizing the food service. We recently revamped all of our menus with our chef. And
Mm.
I'm doing all the event setup. I mean, I'm coordinating logistics with all of the vendors that are being brought in. Is there a photo booth? Are there any other activations?
Of course, yeah.
I, have a incredible production manager that handles the advancing for the bands, but I'm still very much in the conversation in terms of, logistically, what is the event looking like? What is the goal here?
Yeah.
Um, how is it going to be executed? So I really, my event operations experience at CBS Radio and my sales experience at Manhattan Center really just came together to open this incredible opportunity for me at Brooklyn Bowl. And it's the best of both worlds.
It genuinely, there are people listening to this. If they're anything like me and what I'm listening to, they'll be listening, going, "That sounds like the best job in the world. That sounds like the best
It's
job." What's it like to go into work every day into something that must look exciting for a start, and then to look at the itinerary for the day and think, oh, "Great, we've got those guys in, and I've got to do that, and I've got to do that." It must be, I guess, challenging, rewarding, exciting, all of those things every day.
It's all of the above. As you can see, I'm remote today, but usually I am working out at the venue every day. It does get a little annoying when we have to battle sound check. So when I have a call scheduled at 3 o'clock, right when sound check starts, I'm gonna have to go take it outside, even if it's 20 degrees outside, or I'll find some other spot in the venue. But yes, it's very exciting just to kind of be a part of it all.
It's been fascinating to talk to you today, and as I said right at the beginning of this episode, as soon as I saw the subject, I thought, oh man, I could probably talk for hours. We could end up as a Joe Rogan, but we like to keep it succinct, and we like to hopefully whet the appetites of people who tune into our podcast, so that they can maybe do a bit of exploration themselves. Because we know that even though I'm sat here in the UK, we know that there are people that tune into the Event Industry News podcast right across the world, right across the events industry internationally. So it doesn't matter if you're UK, European based, or US based. I would urge you to do what I did first of all, and go and have a look on Google Street View at this venue, because it is so cool. You will look at it and you'll go, I want to have an event there straight away. Check out the guys' website, and that brings us nicely, I guess, to wrap up today's episode. Emma, if people do want to find out a bit more about you guys, what's the website, what's social media, Twitter, presumably all of those things?
You can check out brooklynbowl.com. It is our main portal. You can access all 4 of our locations there. Find our full schedule of upcoming concerts. You can inquire for special event inquiries there, and then our social handles are at Brooklyn Bowl. So you can find us on all social media as well.
That's fantastic. We've been talking today on the Event Industry News podcast to Emma Teats. Emma is the Director of Sales and Events at Brooklyn Bowl in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, New York. And it's been absolutely fascinating to talk to her. Before I say thank you finally to Emma and round off, don't forget that if you are listening to this on one of your chosen podcast platforms, you can also see videos of all of our podcasts, and indeed check out the latest news features and supplements by heading over to eventindustrynews.com. Of course, if you're already there and watching us today, well, hello to you. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching this video podcast today. And don't forget that you can also go in the opposite direction and go to your chosen podcast platform and listen to audio-only versions of all of our podcasts. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Our thanks once again to Emma Tietze from Brooklyn Bowl, joined us from New York. It's been fabulous to talk to you, Emma. Good luck with everything. And we hope to maybe speak to you again soon. If you've got anything exciting to tell us about, please do come back on the podcast. We'd love to stay in touch.
Thank you so much, James. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Thanks a lot. We'll see you on the next episode, guys. Thanks for joining us.